In this video, I'm going to be explaining the grab and throw performance stat, otherwise known as grappling. We'll be comparing both the effects it has on weapons, the effects it has on throwing enemies and containers, as well as unarmed damage and whether or not it affects melee weapons. So to start with, let's look at the grab performance when we're using max grappling arms. The Futsunishi arms have the highest brawling of any arms that I currently have, so I'll be using them and the Karnwinen to test the grab performance at max. Let's see how long we can grab on for. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 hits. So at maximum grabbing performance, we can hold on long enough to stab with the Karnwinen for 18 hits total. Now, just to see if, like brawling, the grappling performance is based only on one arm, and perhaps the arm the weapon's held in, and not both arms, let's swap one for the worst grappling that I have, which is the halberd, which has far less grappling than Futsunishi, and let's see if there's any change. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we lost 5 hits by equipping the halberd over the Futsunishi arm. So obviously, regardless of the arm that the weapon is equipped in, grabbing specifically is affected by the stats of the combined grab performance of both arms. Unlike brawling, where it only matters which arm you have equipped, whenever it comes to grappling, as you can see, regardless of the arm that the weapon is equipped in, you can only hold on for so long based on the grabbing performance of both arms. All right, now that we've seen the max grappling and a combination of max and lowest, let's see what happens if we use the minimum grappling capable and see how much time we lose on our grabbing period. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. We went from 18 at max to 13 and middling, and now 5 at minimum. So it plays a huge part. Now, the grappling stat says that it affects missile speed, but that's a translation error. It doesn't actually affect the speed of missiles. As you can see here, that's with minimum grappling. And this is the swap to maximum grappling. So that's just a translation error. Whenever the grappling stat says it affects missile speed, it actually means the speed of whatever you throw. Anything that you decide to throw is essentially the missile, and that's what the stat's referring to. Actual shoulder-mounted missiles are not affected by the grappling stat whatsoever. That's your missile. And that brings us to the next aspect of the grabbing and throwing performance, which is throwing performance. Now, again, while grabbing is determined by the stat of both arms, throwing is only determined by the stat of the arm that's doing the throwing. So you can get massively different results depending on which arm you throw with. This is important to keep in mind if you decide you want to have a throwing build. If you want to have a build that focuses entirely on throwing things, you don't technically need to have maximum grappling on both arms, you just need it on your throwing arm. Now, you're going to grab an item based on whichever arm is closer to that item when you select the grab icon. So if you've got one arm that's really good at throwing and one arm that's really bad, just make sure that you position yourself correctly when you pick up an item, and you'll always pick it up in the hand you want to pick it up in. Now, this also applies to enemies. The higher your grappling stat, the more damage you're going to do when you throw a grabbed enemy. Now, if you're some sort of psycho and you want to engage in bare knuckle brawling, the brawling stat is not what you want. The grappling stat is. The higher your grappling stat is, the more damage you're going to do with bare knuckle brawling. Why you would want to do this is beyond me, but there's the information should you decide to use it. This does not apply to knuckles, however. Knuckles, being weapons, are not affected by grappling, and they are solely affected by brawling. This goes for all other melee weapons. Damage is only affected when throwing or punching enemies, not whenever you're actually using a proper weapon. Now, the thrown weapon skill is an interesting one because if you have low throwing performance, the damage remains the same because it's based on the weapon, but your range and speed are decreased. But it has a strange effect on the skill because the way it works is it does a tick of damage based on like a certain amount of time as you throw it. And if you increase your throwing performance, you lose a tick of damage. So even though you've got greater range and greater speed on the skill, you actually lose damage per use on it. So this can vary depending on the size of the enemy, and possibly even the weapon a little bit, but the slower you throw it, the more damage potential you're going to have, which I found pretty interesting. Brawling does affect the damage of thrown weapon, however. Even though grappling performance doesn't improve the damage of hand grenades, it improves their performance to such a high degree that with high grappling stats, your hand grenades essentially become auxiliary bazookas. That's going to do it for this video. I hope it thoroughly explained the mechanics behind the grappling stat. I did not touch on standoff damage because it happens very, very rarely, and I just don't have the time to do testing on that. I think it may have something to do with how easy or difficult it is to succeed in standoffs, but I'm not certain. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hope it was helpful.